get a full description of what the command does, full description of the arguments. You even get the author who actually wrote it, some notes, copyright, and some references to something else as well. This is a very short man page because pwd is a very short command and a very basic command. But for example, if I was to type in man, grep, you can see that the man page is a lot bigger as I'm just scrolling down, and it seems to be on end. Grep is a multi-purpose command which I will show to you in a moment, but I just wanted to show the difference between a basic and a more complex command. Let me just go ahead and clear the screen. Next up we have move. So mv, that will cause a folder to move. This is how you rename folders to, or files. So let's just go ahead and navigate over to var, where I have actually copied this file. ls, excellent. So if I say move vbox guest edition Linux editions, I can move it either to some different folder under some different name, or I can just rename it within my current folder. So if I just type it in, I don't know, let's go random is not so random. I'm just gonna rename it to that and say .run. You can put whatever extension you want. Of course, it won't function the same, but I am just showing you the way of renaming a file. And if I do ls again, you see that vbox Linux editions.run has been successfully renamed to random is not so random.run. I can also do this. I can, for example, move random is not so random to my home directory, and if I do ls and then specify a path to my home directory and press enter, you can see that I have actually moved it here. But unlike the copy command, it doesn't retain the original within wherever the source might have been. So once you move it, it's gone from the source folder. However, it's going to appear in the destination one. Also, a tricky way when you delete something with move, when you move something over something else, it's so difficult to recover, if not impossible. Also, be very careful with deleting files in Linux, because once you delete them from the terminal, you will not be able to recover them, basically. There are some complex procedures that might give you the fraction of what you wanted to recover, but if you remove it from the terminal, it's very, very, very difficult. It's not like Windows or something of a kind. When you delete something in Windows, you can always recover it. Basically, you didn't even delete it, nonetheless, something else. You just don't see it. But here, when you delete something, it's gone permanently. So take great caution and take great care, but don't be afraid. I mean, over a certain period of time, these things become second nature to you, and you will take it into consideration without even thinking about it. So let's just go ahead and clear the screen. Next up, we have cat. Now, cat gives us, well, let me show you what cat does. So, oops, I cannot cat the random. Because it is not there, of course. So let's just navigate over to home and let's cat random is not so random. And you see what it does. It actually shows you the listing of, this is a bit of a longer file. So it shows you all the entire contents of that file, whatever that might be. This content is not pretty at all. You can't basically read it like this, but doesn't matter. Let's just create another file, and I'm just gonna cat it. So nano is my favorite text editor from the terminal. You will need to learn how to use terminal text editors, because primarily you don't want to be switching back and forth between GUI text editors and working on something in a terminal. It's extremely time consuming, and plus here on Kali Linux you can actually edit things with root. However, if you are, for example, using some other distribution or something of a kind, most of the GUI text editors will not be, you will not be able to run them as root. You will get an error message. So that can be a bit problematic. That's why you should always learn how to use text editors that are terminal text editors. So just type in nano and type in the name of the file that you wish to create. So for example, I'm just going to go ahead and type in test. This is going to be a test file. No need to give it any extensions or anything of a kind. And there we go. Now we are in the nano text editor. So here I can, for example, write some text, some random text goes here. Let's just do that. Okay, so you have a wide variety of options down here. Well, maybe not a wide variety, but certainly a good amount. So this is this caret sign X. It simply means Control X. So if you press Control X, you're gonna exit. Control O, write out. That's basically save. You don't need this. Where is basically the way to search things. So Control V, search, and no, let's say random. Press enter, and there you go. It's gonna point to random. It's going to find it, no problems. Previous page, you don't need that. Next page, you're not gonna be that engaged with it. So cut text is also very nice because it allows you to actually remove large portions of text at a relatively fast rate. So if I just say Control K, it's gonna remove the current line where the cursor is, not what you have selected with your mouse, just so you know. Let me just bring that back. And I'm just going to go ahead and continue talking about this in part 2 in the follow-up tutorial. Until then, I bid you farewell. Hello everybody, and welcome to part 2 of this tutorial. And now let's go ahead and save the file. So press Ctrl O to output to the file. It says file name to write. You can actually modify it here, so you can type in some letters or whatever you want. You can change the name here, or you can even change the extension if you want. But there is no need for the time being. I'm just going to go ahead and save it as test. Just press enter. There you go. It says wrote one line. Control X to exit. There we go. Clear the screen. And now I'm going to use cat command to get a listing of this particular file, which is far more reasonable than the previous one, which you couldn't read. The cat command, by the way, was functioning properly, but it was mostly a binary file. Therefore, it gave you a listing, but you couldn't really read anything from it. So let's just go ahead and type in cat test, and there we go. It says some random text goes here. That is the text that we have typed into the text file and test file, and you can cat it like this. These things are very good, especially with files that you want to make sure you do not want to change them in any way, and you don't want to make any accidental changes or anything of a kind, and you want to quickly see what is located within that file. There is another way of doing this. Basically, it's ls, and let's go ahead and navigate over to Etsy apt ls, and here we have plenty of files to work with. So let's just take sources.list as an example here. So if I do cat sources.list, I'm gonna get everything that is within that file as before, and it's gonna be listed in my terminal here, there to stay. It's not gonna go away anywhere. But there is another command which I can use. Let me just go ahead and clear the screen. It is called less. And if I type in less sources.list, I'm gonna be prompted with a new tab where I can actually view things here, not a new terminal tab, but a new workspace within the terminal itself. And when I press Q, it's gonna exit and nothing will be displayed here. So very nice in terms of being neat and organized, and so on and so forth. So less and cat, very nice things, but you can use, for example, cat sources.list, and then the command that I have previously mentioned is grep. Grep means basically you pull something, you grab something from something else. Now here's what I mean by it. You type in cat sources.list and you type in a pipe. This symbol here, it's called a pipe, which basically states whatever the output of this is, pipe it to the whatever command comes here. So I'm just gonna type in grep, and let's say I want to type in src. Press enter. Excellent. So it will only print lines that have src in them. Linux is case sensitive, so when you are grepping, it's gonna check the case of the letters, whether it's lowercase or not. But you can give it an ignore case. You can type in like this. -I means ignore case. Oops, my bad. -I to ignore the case. You're gonna get the same output because there are no different things within this file, but you get the general idea. So this is how you would use cat with grep in order to pull things out of a file. Very important. This is a huge part of the Linux terminal, filtering through text files, primarily because we're going to be doing large network scans, and we will want to create files from which we will be able to pull useful information, which we will later in turn pass to other tools to do something with. Anyway, let me just go ahead and clear the screen for the time being. You also have echo, so echo, and I give it the quotation marks open. Let's say I am alive, close quotation marks, and it will echo these words. It literally is an echo. You type something into it and it echoes them here. So let's just go back to the home directory now, get a listing, and use exactly the same command, echo live. By the way, you can scroll through the previous commands by using arrow keys. So up arrow, using the up arrow key and down arrow key, you can scroll back through your previous commands and you don't need to retype them. So I am alive, and I'm going to insert this. So I'm going to use a greater than sign and type in test. So this will echo I am alive into test. And if I do less, I'm going to use cat test. You see, it has replaced the contents of the test, which was some random text goes here, into I am alive. Very nice command to have. You can change variable names, variable values with echo, and so on and so forth. We will use this a bit more as we progress through the course, and I don't really want to get in depth here, primarily because later on when we have clear examples that directly relate to what we are doing at the moment, which is basically pen testing, then you will see more advanced usage of pretty much all of these commands, especially grep. We have touch. Touch is a quick way to create files. So for example, I can do touch, and I can say file 1, file 2, file 3. Press enter, ls, and you see it has immediately created 3 files. So touch is a very quick method. Oops, a bit over my head there. Anyway, touch is a very quick way of creating any amount of files that you wish, and you can specify folder paths. You can create this file in home, this one in var, this one in var log, and so on and so forth. Anyway, down below you have mkdir. So if I go ahead and type in mkdir, it's make directory. So you are making some sort of a directory. Let's say the name of this directory will be place to be. And if I get ls, there we go. It states that this file is actually a directory, which is a place to be. I can even navigate to it and say place to be ls. There is nothing in it, but get the idea. You can make directories in such a fashion. Now chown, if I type chown, it allows you to change the ownership of a particular file. Now, since we only have a single user here, which is root, there isn't really any point in doing so unless we create some other new users. But we're not going to do that as we don't need them. But just to show you how this would work, for example, if the owner of a file was not root, and if you wanted to change it to root, you would do the following. So chown, and then you would type the username, colon, the user group. So the user group and the username are usually the same on your home PCs, unless you're on some bigger server or something like that. And then you would just specify the name of the file. I don't know, you can type in test. There we go. So it will change. It will effectively change the ownership of file test to the username root, who is from the user group root. And if I do ls.la, you can see here it states who the owners are and which groups actually own the files as well. So if I clear the screen, there is another more used command. It's called chmod, and this command allows you to change file permissions. So this is something that you will need to use on a daily basis and quite often, primarily because, well, you see, if I have an executable file in Linux, for example, let's just go ahead and edit. Well, actually, we don't need to edit it. We can type in echo, and not like that. Hello, close quotation marks, and I want to output this to test, and I want to move test to test.sh. sh is basically an executable, one of the scripts that's a bash script for Linux, that in such a way you can automate tasks. We will deal with it in greater depth as we proceed through the tutorial. You will need to be acquainted with bash scripting, definitely, but bash scripting is very similar to the terminal itself, so pretty much all the commands that you use in the terminal you can use in bash scripting as well, basically just combining a bunch of them in a file. And now I want this to be my executable, but you see, the way to start executables is dot slash, as I have stated previously. That's a command to start any executable. And if I type in test and I press tab, it doesn't give me a list of possibilities. Why? Surely now test.sh is an executable, but no. You see, it doesn't have a permission to be an executable file. You see here the difference, that just take a look at this file and take a look at this file. This one is green, this one is not. And now look at their permissions. So you see it has a marcation that it is executable for all groups, users, etc., while this one up here, test.sh, does not have such permissions. You need to change that, and the way you change it is chmod, and you would type in +x. So if you want the file to be writable, you type in +w. If you want it to be executable, +x. If you want to be able to read the file, +r. Very simple. There is also a way of doing this with numbers, so you can type in 755. You don't try remembering all those modes. Whatever you need, you basically go on the net and check. It can be quite complicated, but these three you need to know. It's +w, +r, and +x. And also 777, which is a global mode. This is the mode that is not recommended for actual usage, but you use chmod to actually test or troubleshoot things. For example, if you want to be absolutely sure that certain actions are not being prevented due to file permissions, you change the mode of those files to 777, which is the global mode that anybody can do anything with the file. And if you still have an error message, you know that it is absolutely not related to anything in regards to permissions. So those four things you do need to know. So let me just go ahead and type in +x, type in random, not random, it's not so random. Type in test.sh, press enter, and if I do ls.la once again, you will see that test.sh is now executable. Let me just run it, and there you go. If I run this, it's gonna echo hello onto my terminal screen. Now there's a bit more to go, not much more left. There is just one more command that I would really like to show to you, and that can be a very dangerous command indeed. It can mess you up in ways you can't you can't even begin to imagine yet. That is the command rm. So rm is basically remove. And once you remove things with this command, it's next to impossible to recover pretty much anything. So if I type in rm test.sh, it's going to remove it and it's no longer going to be there. But if I go ahead and navigate over to place to be and, I don't know, touch test, I'm gonna make a new full file there, and if I go ahead and say rm place to be, it's going to say RM cannot remove place to be because it is a directory. This is a failsafe of the RM. So you wouldn't delete a full directory because you wouldn't be able to recover it, and that would be really bad. What you can do is type in rm.f and then place to be cannot remove directory. Oops. Okay, no problems. You see, you get stuck. And I'm deliberately going to leave this part in the tutorial just to troubleshoot it. So you type in --help, and here you have recursive remove directories and their contents recursively. So that's a very nice option. So let's just go ahead and do that, because this will go into the folder and remove everything within the folder and the folder itself, hopefully. So let's just go ahead and type in rm-r place to be, press enter. There you go, it has deleted it, and there we go, it is no longer there. The -f function, -f that I have used, is forced. It will not ask you any questions. It will delete the folder or file, which can be also very dangerous. When you're using RM, you always want to be asked questions. In any case, as I said, I've deliberately left this in order to show you that even if you get stuck, don't worry about it. I get stuck all the time, and if you don't know what to type in, what argument to pass, just type in --help and take a look at what you can actually type. Read a little bit, and then use the options. Try it out. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it won't. But more often than not, you will be able to figure it out from the help menu. If you can't figure it out from the help menu, just type in man rm, and you can read pretty much everything that there is to know about this command here. And if you really can't perform the task, but if you can't find anything useful here, then forums are your next best bet. But trust me, you will succeed in doing it. In any case, this was a brief introduction to some of the basic commands that we will use. Please make sure that you know what each one of these commands does, at least its basic functions. And then later on we will get in depth and do more advanced stuff and use more advanced commands by combining them and so on. In any case, I bid you all farewell, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial.
Congratulations on making it into this part of the video. You are one of the few people who's had enough perseverance and endurance to get all the way through the installation section, learn the basics of Linux. Now, I guess you could have just skipped to here too, so that's okay if you did that too. If you want to learn the exact, more technical details of how to be hacking online, here's where it gets started. Now, this is where the course starts to differ in this video from the actual course. The video you are watching now includes a free preview from the beginning of every one of the following sections. So whereas up to this point, you've got everything in the course, now you're starting to get the free preview of each of these sections. So what you'll get is the first lecture about Tor, then the first lecture about proxy change, then the first lecture about VPNs or virtual private networks, then another first lecture about Mac changers, another first lecture about Nmap, and then you'll get an intro to Wi-Fi hacker cracking, air crack and reaver installation, and then the first lecture of the air crack usage. Now, this is where the free preview ends at the air crack and crunch usage. So once you get to this point, in order to continue, you will need to actually get into the course. For now, you can immediately, right here in this video, learn about Tor, proxy change, VPNs, Mac changers, Nmap, Wi-Fi hacking, and air crack and reaver installation. You get that right now, and by that point, you'll know whether you want to invest more in order to take the course or whether you'd rather just learn about it on your own and try and do it. So anytime you want to take the course and ask Ermin your questions when you're stuck on something, just go to jerrybanfield.com/Udemy, grab your $25 coupon so you can save huge on the list price, and then take the course and get in, and you'll have a much easier experience in the course versus trying to watch this video. But that said, this video is still really helpful. I appreciate every minute you've watched it, and here we go, next into learning about Tor.
Hello everybody and welcome to this tutorial. Today I will open up a chapter on how to stay anonymous. So there are several ways, several methods that you can use. First off, you've probably heard about these things. They are proxies. So you are just routing your connection through several different points, although this can be very slow depending on the speed of the proxies elsewhere. And you also know nothing of the other side. You know nothing of the servers through which your packets are going. So that can be risky, but then again, if you're just scanning something, if you're nmapping a network, if you're using nmap to footprint a network, why do you care? It's not of importance. However, if you're using proxies to log in somewhere or pass credentials or something of a kind, that is potentially dangerous and you should not do that. I mean, it's quite literally, you shouldn't do it. The other option is to use some sort of VPNs and to encrypt your networks, to encrypt your traffic between you and the VPN service provider. Now these things can be very fast depending on which one you have, so you can just pay for a service out there. I think a yearly subscription is like 100 and something bucks. A monthly subscription is like 10 bucks, something like that. You get a dedicated VPN static IP address. So you can do a lot of stuff and they can be very fast. Furthermore, your traffic is encrypted, as I said, and the only way that somebody can figure out that you are doing something somewhere is if the VPN service provider actually relinquishes your information. However, this does not happen that often. This is very difficult to attain, especially if you get a VPN some in certain parts of the world where they just generally don't give these sort of information out, but I wouldn't recommend doing that for white hat hacking, primarily because there isn't a need to stay anonymous to that extent. What we are going to be using VPNs and proxies mainly for, or what they are mainly used for in the world today, I would say anyway, this is just my personal opinion, is to bypass firewall settings or firewall limitations, should I say. So here's a real life example that people have been using quite often, that people are using pretty much on a daily basis. Netflix, for example, has a certain range of IP addresses from which it allows connections. So if you are elsewhere in the world and you do not belong to that IP address range, it will not allow you to view anything on the site. It will not allow you to see movies or something of a kind. However, if you use a proxy, a good one, or if you use a VPN, you will be able to access the site as though you were coming from the country which falls within the IP address range list. So that's just one of the common examples of what people are doing. Not exactly legal, but well, people have been doing it. It's not exactly harmful or something like that. You're not taking servers down or anything of a kind. But people have been using it in order to be able to watch Netflix from, I don't know, a cell phone when they're traveling or something like that. In any case, there are numerous other examples when you want to bypass certain firewall settings. Primarily, you bypass the IP range lists, which are allowed to access a certain server or something like that. But also, for example, if you have a certain server whose traffic is mainly generated from a single area, from a single country, and you do not want to be, for example, scanning it from, I don't know, an IP address that belongs to the area in China or something like that, because those IP addresses they look very differently. I mean, of course, they're written the same, but any network administrator, as soon as they see that IP address of that kind, that is far away from their geographical area, they will know that it's an anomaly of some sort and that it doesn't belong there, and they will be intrigued. They will start looking. So that is not something you want happening to you. You want to be accessing the server from where all the other users are accessing it from, in order to hide yourself in the mass. In any case, that is what we shall be doing in this chapter and a few other things. But for the time being, for this tutorial, I want to show you how you can actually access the dark web or the hidden web, whichever way you wish to refer to it. Now, the rumor is that the dark web is a lot bigger than your regular internet. That there's a lot more information there, and I use its resources a lot of people do. There are some very nice forums where you can get a lot of good stuff. So I would definitely recommend trying it out, and you will, at some point of time, you will need it. For that, you will need to install a Tor browser, and with a Tor browser, you will be able to access Darknet. Now, it is not installed by default on Kali, and this is one of those rare occasions and rare situations where we will actually need a different user other than root in order to be able to do anything with Tor, in order to be able to start it. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and create a new user. So just open up your virtual machine. You see mine is already opened up here. I'm just changing the size